Fountainhead has terminated its engagement with Growthpoint following Growthpoint's proposal to acquire Fountainhead's assets. This is a decision that was welcomed by Redefine Properties, who owns 45.6% of Fountainhead, and they've stated that they have a number of plans for Fountainhead, including enhanced asset management proposals and a number of asset restructurings and projects. To give us more on these plans and projects is Redefine Property CEO Mark Weiner. Mark, always a pleasure. We chatted to you about 3 weeks ago, and we're going to get an update, up to the minute update on where we are on this situation.
Okay, 3 weeks ago you'll recall that we had acquired 18% of the units in Fountainhead after deciding to withdraw our offer, and then we extended that offer to all unit holders who had more than 1 million shares. We only wanted to acquire another 175 million, which would have taken us to 33%, but the demand was such that we accommodated more, and we now have 45.6%. The independent committee of Fountainhead, who've been debating the way forward or backwards on both of these proposals, having withdrawn our offer, we then made our legal opinions available to them. They then concluded, having got more legal advice, that there was no reasonable prospect of Growthpoint succeeding because we had 45.6%, and although they'd been to the JSE to see if they could stop us voting those shares as a related party, Chris will know that generally related parties, when you vote for, not against, but they might still be beating that drum. In addition to that, there's a ballot which has to take place amongst Fountainhead unit holders to change the trust deed if there was a successful bid. That requires 75%. We've always said, as you'll recall, that we had a mechanism to stop the board engaging with Growthpoint at any time. We never used it because it would have meant we had to withdraw our offer. Having withdrawn our offer, if for any reason, and highly unlikely, I think, that the board would re-engage with Growthpoint, we then have our original legal position, our ability to stop the board, and so on. So it's just even more complicated now. So quite honestly, I think that, and it's obviously I don't talk for Growthpoint, but I don't see where they have anywhere to go, and I can't see there's no Growthpoint offer being considered by the board or the independent committee of the board. So they would have to start from scratch. The board would then have to weigh all of this, taking out our 45.6%. Is it in shareholders' interest to have litigation that's going to drag on for years, etc., etc.? So I think after 6 months they've come to the conclusion, having taken extensive legal advice, that there's nowhere for Growthpoint to go. So having done that, we've been involved in the management of Fountainhead since October last year and got Competition Commission clearance. Fountainhead has 80-odd properties, but 15 of the properties make up 70% of the value. That's where we've been concentrating our efforts. We identified a number of projects, value-add projects, in most of the large shopping centres. We work with the professionals on risk. We got it to a stage where they didn't want to do anymore. We've now pressed the button. We've got working drawings going. One project is due. It's a small one, 26 million, going to start next week.
Mark, I just want to, we are running out of time. I want one question from Chris and one question from Viv.
Okay, Viv.
Considering the details in one thing, but considering the macroeconomic environment, obviously over the last couple of years we've seen a huge run in the property stocks because of the lower interest rate environment. That is going to change, I think. I mean, we are either at the bottom or near the bottom of the interest rate cycle, and next thing we're going to see, or the next most likely move is going to be an increase. What are your views on what's going to happen to the valuation of these property stocks given a high interest rate environment?
I think the valuation of property stocks, obviously property stocks are correlated to interest rates and bond yields. So if bond yields go up, then we're going to have a fall in property prices. But fundamentally, and I think one of the reasons for the fight in Fountainhead, it's been a neglected property fund. So there is value to be unlocked in terms of those assets. It's a question of how big is the premium. We're quite happy with second price because although there's a premium, we didn't pay it on 100%. We believe we can unlock value in that particular portfolio. The hottest part of the property sector is retail, and that's where the focus of the portfolio is going to continue to be.
Now, my concern though is if you start to see a rise in interest rates, that consumer may turn quite quickly. And my sense is that there's not much, how can you say, risk counterbalance to any major down. In other words, it's all focused, it's mainly focused on retail. Have you got any plans to try and diversify?
Yeah, well it is a diversified fund, but the interesting thing about retail, and we were debating it today, is that we see the last 3 months retail sales dropping.
Yeah.
I think increase in petrol price, tolls coming sooner or later, more pressure on the consumer. But if you talk to the retailers and you see the demand for additional space, it's quite scary. So, you know, our view is that retailers, Mr. Price, Edcon, you can pay the rent. They sign long leases with us. So you turnover rentals is a very small percentage of the total income, 2%. So turnovers will be static or grow or drop. It's not material. For us, the thing is now to get our leases extended, get long leases, lock these guys in. So short of a major catastrophe with an Edcon or somebody going bust, that's very robust income growing at 7 or 7.5 or 8% per annum, which is the attraction of our stocks, and which is why, as a landlord, sorry, and as a person, to come back earlier, the sales, whilst it impacts on our centres in terms of renewals, in terms of our contractual income, is not impacted. So it would be a long, slow process. But I think my own view is retail is still the sexiest sector, but it is going to come under pressure.
I'm sorry, gentlemen. I'm sorry. We need more time. We're going to have to extend this show to an hour. Thanks so much to Mark Wayne, CEO of Redefine Properties, and thank you to my guests this evening, Viv Govender from Vunani Private Clients and Chris Hart from Investment Solutions.